So it's 5:02. Call this Public Works meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Pickard?
Here.
Mr. Lair?
Here.
And Mr. Temperley previously informed staff that he'd be unavailable this evening.
So that brings us right into approval of minutes from January. We did not meet in February. Because it is March. All right.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, it's been 2 months. Trying to step this through again. I don't need to do a roll
I can-
call. We can just,
Either way.
all right, roll call vote then, please.
Mr. Pickard?
Aye.
Mr. Lair?
Aye.
Ms. Schmidt?
Aye.
Motion passed 3-0.
That's much easier. Questions and public comment? Our public is us. So that brings us to item number 5, update on the utility billing system.
All right. There we go. I was going to say my computer's not working, but okay, we're back in business. All right, outsourcing of our billing system. What's happening is, as we're putting in the AMI system, we're gathering information, and we're working with WPPI to accomplish this. So the way it's set up right now is that we can get bill readings, and they basically go to PPI, and then they come back to us to do billing. And so what we're looking at as we get into the AMI system is now to, kind of short circuit that and just allow that information to stay at WPPI and do our billing there. But there's other efficiencies we can gain by that. One is that relieves a lot of our staff time. We don't have this, at the end of the month for a couple of days, we've got, we're printing bills and we're sorting and we're putting them, or, stuffing them and all that kind of good stuff. Through this system now, we won't have to do that. That'll all be taken care of. And so that cost then is absorbed in the numbers that you see at the end of my memo there. So that postage, paper, all that good stuff is now outsourced. The other advantage here, the other reason that we're looking at this now is that in order for us to accomplish this, we've got what's called a folding machine, which is just what it sounds like. It's a machine that folds the pieces of paper and jams them into an envelope. Well, it's pretty much done, and they don't really have a long life. They take quite a beating, and they're about $4,000 a piece, and then we've got the annual maintenance to maintain them and all that sort of thing. So the combination of things, we looked at this and felt that from a number of standpoints. One is to link it with the AMI, two is to get out of the cost of having to buy a folding machine and all that. And we think there's some cost savings here. We don't track our costs to actually stuff and deliver the bills real closely, so we don't have exact numbers to compare there. But based on the fact that all of this is being absorbed elsewhere and relieving some time, we think it's well worth it. And so what we're looking to do is begin this in probably about 3 or 4 months, which will coincide very nicely when we've got quite a few more of the AMI meters ready to go. One other thing I'll add is that it also allows us, working through and closer with WPPI, to put together a new bill format, which will be easier to read. It will include much more information. It will have information about past usage, et cetera, et cetera. It will also allow us to design and have printed more professional-looking bill stuffers, just something that will be a little more eye-catching and we think more effective. And then ultimately, this will link us up with another program where people can view their usage and pay their bill and all that sort of thing online, which they can do now, but again, there's not as much data there that they can look at and kind of analyze how things are going. So this is kind of just another step in automating a little bit our billing system for water, electric, and sewer.
I didn't realize we could view our bills online now.
Well, again, you can pay, but I don't think you can actually view. You can see a PDF of the existing bill, I think. Is that right?
I don't think so.
No, I guess not. You
I
just.
don't think we have that capability yet, no.
So this will allow you to see all that.
That'll be much more exciting.
Oh, I'm telling you, that's what we're all about.
It's bad that I actually think that that's exciting, but I actually do it.
Well,
I
when
mean,
you combine it with
seriously, I do.
everything, it truly is. I agree. When you think of everything we're going to be able to do online and with technology, yeah, it is exciting, actually.
Both from my standpoint and from the end use standpoint, because I'm assuming that you can take all this data, compile it together a little bit cleaner. And I'm hoping that you have a little bit better track of some of where the leaks are based off of additional metering.
Yes.
And then you can use all of the data that's actually out there in one spot and figure it out.
You already have that data though, don't you?
We have it.
Yeah, but
Yes.
but the users don't.
That's correct.
Right.
And actually with the water meters, now electric meters, we could always get almost real-time data. With the new water meters, we can now get that similar data. So if something springs a leak, we can see pretty much exactly when that happened.
Now, when we start doing the new format, are you gonna send out a thing maybe the month or two ahead of time saying this is what the new format for the new bill is gonna look like?
Yes, correct. WPPI has done the same thing with about 25, 26 other utilities, and so they've got a process. And yeah, that's definitely part of it, to preview and to help people understand what does everything mean on that bill.
The extra time that we're saving will not change any positions internally, right? We're not eliminating any extra time.
Oh, no, we're not eliminating positions. We're going to reallocate some time. You know, we've got plenty of other things to do, so this will free up somebody's time, at least for a couple of days at the end of the month, yeah.
We don't use the folding machine for anything else other than utilities?
Correct.
Dollar
Correct.
amounts are roughly the same, if not a little bit more cost-effective is what it appears like.
Yes, that's our belief, and based on the numbers we're put together, I think that's a reasonable cost-benefit analysis.
Planning on doing the 12-month archive option right away?
As soon as we can, yes.
That I assume requires some people to set up a login and password on some system, or is it?
Yes. Yeah, it'll be secure. Yes. Because obviously we could be collecting payment data, so it'll be a very secure system.
Mhm. And it's done by the third-party provider?
Correct.
Miss details?
No?
I'll add one last thing, and this is not completely done yet, but the PSC is looking at allowing utilities to incorporate the extra charges for credit card payments into the rate. Right now, if you do that, you've got to, charge whatever they charge, $3, and that's added on to everyone's bill, but the PSC is now looking at just making that a part of the rate, and if you pay online or don't pay online, that cost is absorbed. And of course, the interest here is to push everybody more toward electronic payment, which is better for the utility, quicker payment, so all that sort of thing. So I'll keep you informed on how that goes, but that would help immensely with getting more people to pay online.
And also being able to, long-term, people will be more comfortable with viewing their bills online and won't even need to have a bill mailed to them, which I would think would also result in cost savings.
We're going that way, I think, Mark, absolutely, yeah.
I think to your point, Mark, like the We Energies bill that I get, I don't get the paper one anymore. But for those kind of bills, I don't think they let me pay with a credit card. I think I have to do drafting out of the
Yeah.
bank account.
Yeah.
So it's not, I'm alluding that it's not unusual to have it just draft from the bank account instead of a credit card.
That's what I do.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
If you give me the credit card option, I'll do it that way though, because I get more points.
Well, there you go.
I'm just speaking out loud if there's other ways of doing things too, and I don't know, I don't understand all the cost behind it, but that's where my head's at.
Yeah, my understanding is that the ACH bank transfers are much more cost-effective, and that's why we do them. And so, credit card companies will collect some sort of fee, 3% or thereabouts, and they'll get a cut then, which it's, convenience versus service, cost versus convenience,
Yeah.
really.
And from our standpoint, those sorts of things really help our cash flow. It's very predictable, it's solid money, we don't have to worry about bad checks, et cetera. So
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
It takes a while to process all those payments that come in by check, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
That's something I haven't thought about. Any further discussion? Anything else you need out of us, or just an update?
That's an update.
That's the update I was looking for, to be honest.
So
You said we were done, Mark.
this outservice company doesn't provide a service for processing checks too, does it?
Not that we're aware of.
Yeah.
That's human beings we use right here, so.
But yeah, maybe that, you know, perhaps WPPI would, you know, they, as a service, could provide that service as well instead of each municipality doing it.
Well, we can certainly ask the question.
Yeah, it's something,
Absolutely.
you know, because I don't think you're ever going to cut everybody over.
No.
So there's always going to be some, so larger, you know, as the quantity dwindles and the cost effectiveness of doing a small quantity isn't as good, and if you can mail them off to somebody to do more centrally, maybe it's more cost effective. Maybe it's not, but it's a thought.
Yeah. And it is common to have a clearinghouse for those,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a look. Appreciate it.
Down the road.
So along with doing, you don't have to be, I was just giving you a hard time. Along with this automated, the billing that WPPI would be doing for us, I hear there's an update for AMI.
Yeah, I can do that real quick. We've talked about this for a while, and I think a lot of our reports have been, well, we're working out some computer glitches and that sort of thing, and I think we've got most of those worked out. We're working on one right now that really isn't a glitch, it's just moving a little slower than we want to. But bottom line, just using our own staff and really hitting it hard for maybe the last 4 or 5 weeks, we now have got, I got to check my numbers to make sure I say this right, about 550 water meters and 600 electric meters installed and working, collecting data from them and billing from them. That puts us, maybe 10-15% along the way. The electric meters are much faster to replace or to change out, and so we anticipate we'll have no problem having all those done by the end of the year. The guys, can quite easily do, 25 to 30 in a day when that's all they've got to do. But they've gotten in the mode of catch as catch can, so they've always got meters with them, and if they're somewhere near a house that they know they can change, they change them right away. And we've also given them the go-ahead so that every weekend we've got somebody on standby, and they're getting paid for 2 hours just to kind of be on standby, and so they have taken to installing meters during those 2 hours. So we're getting more production that way. Water meters, of course, are a little different story because we've got to get into the homes. We've got to make sure people are there, so we've got to schedule appointments, that sort of thing. We still continue to go after the older meters, and although we haven't really sat down and done a lot of calculations, we know that we're still gaining on meters that we're either not reading or reading improperly. And so we're not only gaining some revenue there, but hopefully we're getting rid of some of our water loss. Because that takes a little longer, and I don't know if you've noticed, but we've got a project going over here on South Main Street that will take some of the water department's time because that's what we're doing right now. That will slow down. We are looking at the possibility of hiring a contractor, and there are now a handful of contractors out there that do just this. They change out meters. It's a kind of a turnkey process where they make all the appointments, they take care of all the installs and all the paperwork and computer work and all that sort of thing. So we're taking a look at that and seeing what the cost-benefit analysis comes out like. But we'll probably be talking to you about that maybe next month, allocating some dollars to do that. But overall, now that we have finally really gotten going, we're real pleased with our pace, and we anticipate keeping going like this.
That's exciting for me, again. The AMI that goes into it with the meters ties right in with the utility bills, ties in with me, the end user, actually getting to see more recent, more updated, better controlled, better document retention. Because I don't look at my utility meter all the time, but when I do, I'm sorry, when I look at it.
That was good.
Right? I want to look at the historical stuff, and I'm looking at where the rates change and where the changes happen. So having it in one central spot, based off of what's happening with AMI, it all ties together, which is really what I like.
The rates will be in one system and the AMI will be in another system.
No, bills all in the same spot.
I didn't hear what you said, Mark.
So does any customers, I'm guessing, don't yet have access to the AMI data, correct?
That's correct.
When they do, will the AMI data system, online system, be a separate system from the billing system?
No, it has to be tied together. It will be tied together, yes. The information that's coming off the meter all runs through our billing system.
Yeah, but will the detailed information be in the billing system, like on an hour-by-hour basis, for example?
I thought it was day by day.
Yeah, we won't, we'll have what they call near real-time, great phrase, right? Near real-time. But my understanding is, and maybe Betsy, you're more familiar with the billing system and the data collection system, but it actually is all incorporated into one. So, yeah, you get in to see your bill, you get in to see your usage. You can get, I think you can drill down to, I think our meters are set up on 15-minute data, so you could conceivably go in and see your usage in a 15-minute range.
You know, as somebody that would, you know, familiar with software, the AMI people have a package to do this and provide all sorts of details, I'm sure. The billing system is typically, you know, a monthly type system where you get monthly data, and it takes some extra work to provide all that drill down data. So maybe they have the systems working really well together, and maybe they don't, I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how it rolls out.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, these things aren't always free either.
Oh, no.
You know,
No.
We got this neat feature, but it'll cost you this much.
Yeah, agreed.
Where my head was at with it was when I was doing the large energy user side for WPPI, we had the smart AMI meter that was out there, and it had the communication that would do it. We wouldn't get the real-time data, it'd be near real-time, but then you could still drill down, and you could span it out, you could see degree days, you could see the electrical demand versus actual consumption.
And the rates?
Now, in that system, the rates weren't there
Right.
because the large energy user program covered a different thing. But for the residential
So-
side, it was the same thing.
Large energy was free, or?
They built it with a person. There was only like 3 of us in Jefferson, so.
Yeah, and Mark, I don't pretend to know what you know about this, but what I can tell you is this is an advantage that PPI gives us in that the meters that we're using, they're census meters.
Yes.
They had to have been, they were vetted and then had to be approved by WPPI to work with their billing system. So that their data goes into the PPI billing system and then we access it from there. So if that means it's all in the same place, that's how that works. If it doesn't, then to us, it's seamless. You know, we still get that same information in some way.
It'll be interesting to see, you know, the billing system only needs monthly data, so it'll be interesting to see if we, you know, it provides monthly, weekly, daily, hourly. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll
Understand.
be better than what it is now,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about this winter. It was not pretty. But I do know that we can ping any meter we want and find out exactly what the usage is at any time. That data doesn't go into the billing system, but the 15-minute data does. We can look more at this as we get into it, but I see where you're going now.
Further discussion?
I have a kind of a weird question here. On the bills, there was a number of 3,750 bills,
Yes.
and on the AMI, there's a number of 3,250 meters. 500 fewer meters than bills.
Well, no, actually, that's, there's 3,250 of each.
Right.
Approximately. So that means there's 3,200 water meters, 3,200 electric meters. Now, some people have 2 electric meters. The people out in the sewer district out here don't have water meters, they have sewer meters. So what I'm looking at are the number of locations we have to go to change a meter. That may not jibe with the number of meters we have. And I'm giving you a ballpark.
Yeah.
You know, my number.
That's good enough for me.
Okay.
They're ballpark numbers.
Ballpark numbers.
Okay.
Because they change.
That was a good catch.
All right.
Anything else? Let's talk
Oh.
about, go ahead. No, you're fine. Say it now, or whoever holds your
When you
peace.
change out an electric meter,
Yeah.
does that temporarily remove power from the home?
Yes.
Do you provide notice ahead of time, or?
Well,
It's
we do-
difficult to provide notice ahead of time sometimes if you're, to keep it going at a timely manner.
Yeah, in the situation we're in where we're trying to follow up the water meters, we let the people know that in the next, X amount of days, your electric meter will be changed also. So they've got an inkling that it's happened. The guys also, before they change a meter, knock on the door, see if there's somebody home, that sort of thing. As we get into not installing them behind the water meters, if, you know what I mean, so not following where the water meters are, then yes, we will be putting door hangers out saying that, in the next week or so, we will be changing a meter.
Oh, okay, good,
Yep.
good. I thought maybe, when you said, if they're in the area, they'll do it, and then that's not necessarily a door hanger. They-
If somebody's home. And that's what I mean, if
If
it's-
somebody's not home, do they still do it, or they?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's what I mean, that if they see the homeowners there and they can explain to them what's going on, they'll change it. But once we get into doing it geographically, then we'll say, put door hangers on a block and let them know we're gonna be in the area.
Sounds
on
good.
a certain day. Yep.
That's a good point. That brings us to painting the water tower.
Yeah, now I can give you real, accurate numbers here. So. Yeah, I think as you remember, we did budget about $400,000 in the utility budget for this year to paint the water tower. So we went through the bid process and just, kind of cutting to the chase on here. We got a low bid, and I cannot see the name of the company in front of me here, because it's a really tough name to pronounce, but you see it in there. Thank you. Why can't I find that? It's a really,
Is it George Countopes?
there it is, George K. For 366,000 and some dollars. And so we're pleased that came in under our estimate. I want to explain one thing. When we did the bid, we put an alternate in, and that alternate was to provide complete containment around the water tower. And maybe you've already heard this, Vicki, but the idea is that when they blast it, now keep in mind, they're going right down to bare metal to paint this thing. So they're going to sandblast the whole thing. And the containment keeps all of that sandblast material from just flying out in the air. It all is kind of funneled down to the bottom. And so the alternate was to do that or not do that. And in the bid that we got from George K., that 366,000, that included containment. That's turnkey, whole thing. In another bid that came in quite close, as you see in there, they subtracted X amount of dollars for not doing the containment. So in other words, their base bid with containment was higher than the bid from George K. And so we prefer the containment, given the fact that it's near a residential area, church, et cetera. And so our recommendation is to go with the bid of $366,000 from George K.
Just for kicks, what are the other how are the other water towers done when they're repainted? Are they painting right over the top, or are they sandblasting them as well?
They sandblast them as well. There's two things you can do. You can do a repaint, which is what we're doing, where you take it down to bare metal, or you simply do a cover-up, if you will, another coat over the top. Ours is in such shape that we've got to take all the paint off. Is that what you're asking me?
Kind of, because I'm curious how it looks, or where other people have done it without the containment. That's
Oh.
all I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I can't give you specifics, but in talking to our engineer, that's going to be in an area maybe that's out in a field. Perhaps maybe it's one that's located by a business where that's all, maybe it's that business's water tower, and so that's all that it's affecting. My guess is and maybe, Brandon, my guess is it's not real common to not use containment.
Totally agree. So that brings us to George K. then.
Yeah. So what we're looking for is you to make a recommendation to the council, and I think there's a prepared motion in there if you're so inclined.
We don't necessarily care about what's written on it, what color it is, what style, which orientation, I'm assuming, correct? I mean, I definitely do, don't get me wrong, but I'm assuming that you guys are taking care of that.
Well, there's a group
Okay.
that is taking care of that.
Done. That's all I wanted to hear.
Me too.
Then, that brings us to the prepared motion.
I move adoption of motion 1931.
Second,
Any discussion?
I-
We already had.
I just want to, the complete repaint versus the touch-up, I imagine there's a significant cost difference between the two. And I'm just kind of curious about, in the past, and therefore in the future, would it be more cost-effective to do the touch-up more frequently, or do the, this is about 20 years, which, that's pretty decent amount, and amortized out is, tens of thousands of dollars per year. It's not, it is what it is, but would the other method be more cost-effective or not?
What I can tell you is what I was told by our consulting engineer, that just a touch-up or a cover would be about a third of the price.
Right.
And I can't tell you why we waited this long to paint ours. Actually, we got quite a few years out of the original paint job.
Sure.
And so our plan would be to be more specific, or to have a better plan
Yeah,
for painting it.
like maybe 10 years from now, and it costs one-third as much, and you do that every 10 years,
Correct.
you're money ahead, so.
Correct. And then there's two other things. One is, now this is a complete inside-outside
Yes.
repaint. We don't have to do the inside as nearly as often as the outside, so we'll make sure we keep that in good shape. And then if you look at the water tower now, you'll notice that it's not real attractive, that it's got stains on the bottom.
Yes.
Well, the painting scheme will include a dark bottom, the bottom of the bowl and the stem will be painted dark, and that's so you can't see that as well. And then we're told the color, of the top of the tower is something we should pay attention to for condensation and freezing and all that kind of good stuff. It's not a huge issue, but it's a little thing we'll keep in mind. So you'll see that when this is painted, the bottom portion will be a very dark color.
And the top portion will be probably a fairly light color for that
Correct.
other issue.
Correct.
That makes sense. Any further discussion? You do a roll call vote? We'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Lair?
Aye.
Ms. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Pickard?
Aye.
Motion passed 3-0.
Hot diggity. Well, it's because I don't know anything else. I'm going to be perfectly honest. That brings us to the other public works improvements for 2019.
And that one we're going to turn over to Brandon.
You didn't even give him a chair.
You want to sit here? Okay.
Yeah, I think you guys were provided with the bid tabulation letter for the project. We received 3 bids, which was pretty good, I think, considering how much work is going on in the area. The bids were all 3 under the engineer's estimate. The low bidder was Kraus Excavating from Markeson, Wisconsin. They've worked a number of times in the city in the past. They've done most of the work down in that kind of industrial park, Brookstone area. So they're very familiar with that area. And so we were pretty pleased with the way that the bids came in. I guess a couple other things. There was the base bid for the project, which is the CP Avenue extension, a grinder pump and a force main to serve the lot north of the Light and Water Building, and then American Way from Brookstone to Industrial Drive south of Wallace Park. Those 3 project segments were what is the base bid in that bid tabulation letter. Bid alternate 1 is the American Way bike path. That would go from Industrial Drive to CP Avenue. And that would kind of complete what has been planned for quite a while. The original industrial park plans included some bike path easements across probably at least half of that segment. The city already does have easements for. It would also tie the entire Brookstone area to the Glacial Drumlin Spur Trail, which then goes, that spur trail parallels CP Avenue on the west side of CP Avenue, and then that goes south and connects to the Glacial Drumlin Trail. And it would also connect to what is an existing gravel bike path that goes kind of up from American Way north through the center of the industrial park, and then that eventually connects to a bike path that goes through like the, what's that called? What's it called? Arbor Creek, the Arbor Creek subdivision. So it kind of right at Enterprise Drive and Lake Street, there's that path kind of keeps going north into a subdivision there. So this trail would kind of nicely tie together what is kind of the major pre-planned bike routes through the city on kind of off-street trails. The path through the Arbor Creek subdivision is either 8 or 10 feet wide, paved. So this kind of connects that whole thing together via like designated off-road bike trails. One other thing to note is the bid for that project. The low bid was less than our estimate for that section of the project. Our estimate was $122,000, and so that low bid is what we feel like is a pretty good price for that, and significantly lower for that section of the project than the other two bids. And then the alternate bid 2 is for the portions of the Brookstone subdivision that we're adding. So it would be Rosewood Court, Oak Brook Drive. Those are two sections that are currently just stubbed like one lot south of American Way, east of Wallace Park. And then there would create kind of like an L intersection over near Harvey Road, just south of the church up there, south of the water tower, to kind of create, I think it's an additional 9 lots over there. I think that's right. To be built hopefully soon. So those two streets are also, I'm blanking on their names right now, Valley Ridge and, no? Yeah, Valley Ridge and another street that are both currently stubbed one lot out from other intersections. So these two streets have been planned for quite a while, that we'd be just hooking onto those stubs and extending them together. And again, the bid for that section of the project was less than the estimate, and we also feel like a pretty good price for that section. There's a couple of considerations that I'm not sure if, I guess I wish Steve was here, but there's some, and Dan can maybe elaborate on the developer agreement type situations. Would you like me to discuss that?
Go ahead.
So American Way is a new public street that is on the south side, is fronted by a private lot, and according to the city's policy, half the roadway cost would be assessed to that property owner. And they have already, I believe, signed the special assessment waiver for basically accepting that they understand that they will be assessed for half the construction costs and engineering for that street. That property owner is the same property owner, Riverwood Holdings, that owns the Brookstone subdivision land. In that area, alternate bid number 2, the entirety of that project cost would be assessed back to that property owner. Is that pretty accurate?
That's accurate. And there's a developer's agreement with regard to the residential lots. With regard to American Way, the only thing that I would add is that retention area that we're actually being dedicated some land, and the owner of that property is kind of contemplating what his ultimate use of the property is going to be.
So if I'm hearing it right, a good portion of alternate bid 2 gets, the city will get recuperated back in one way, shape, or form.
The entirety of alternate bid 2, and probably
About half of bid 1.
of the base bid as well.
Not quite half,
yeah.
just the American Way portion of
So
bid
let's
1.
call it maybe a quarter of the value of the base bid as well, the city would get back.
What were we originally planning on for the dollar amount of allocation that we would be paying as the city side?
So the American Way section of the base bid is the only portion that's getting special assessed back. And the way that section of the bid came in, it was quite a bit lower than what we had estimated and already told the developer what their exposure to this project would be financially.
Okay.
And I believe Dan's talked to their attorney, and it seems like they were, I don't know.
It's good enough to go forward.
Yeah.
It's, overall, I think everyone's pretty satisfied with the way this bid came in, for American Way specifically, as well as this entire bid item. I mean, as well as alternative 1 and alternative 2.
You were picking up where I was headed with it, because I was seeing what our budget was, and then how that would compare to what we told them it was gonna be originally. Because we're basically acting on their behalf is how it's perceived.
Yep, correct, yeah.
That's good news. What else you got?
That's all you have?
I guess that's it. Do you
Here's
have- do you have
1.3
any more
million.
Questions?
Well, we've talked about this several other times.
Right.
There's not a lot of other questions that we have. I just needed to remember what we were talking about, so thanks for the recap.
Sure.
I have one little question about the bid tabulation summary for the last company, A1, has an asterisk with some dollar numbers associated with it.
Yeah. You're very detail oriented as always. That was, I don't know what happened. It was just on their actual bid form, the bottom line, which is what you read publicly, it said that 72,000 and change, and they just, I don't know,
Wow.
they
We-
missed.
We'll take it.
I'm not sure if they thought it was 672,000 and then they also missed some math there or what happened, but yeah, it was a
Same holds
little
true for-
bit of an interesting moment during the bid opening. So,
Well, even for the alternate bid too, even the dollars are the same, but the cents are off.
Well, yeah.
right. Yeah, so it was pretty apparent almost immediately that that was not accurate.
Okay.
Have we worked with Kraus Engineering in the past?
Yes, yep, and
We were satisfied with their work.
Very.
Further discussion? Go back.
And there is a motion.
Here we go. There it is.
I move adoption of motion 1932.
Second.
Discussion? The dollar, everything else lines up, the dollar amounts. It says we're doing bid one, the alternate one, and alternate two. I'm good with it. Roll call vote?
Ms. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Pickard?
Aye.
Mr. Lear?
Aye.
Motion passed 3-0.
Which brings us to, what else do we want to talk about next month?
Well, we will do our best to bring you South Main Street updates at these meetings. Things are moving kind of fast right now, but, you know, we'll keep you updated on that. We'll certainly keep you updated on the AMI progress. As you know, we're working on some radium testing at one of our wells right now. We're kind of getting to the end of the testing period of that, so we can give you some information on that, hopefully next month. And then the big one is now typically in May, we've done our tour. And so I guess think about whether or not you want to do that. This time slot works really well to do that because we can meet here. I think that's typically, if we need one, that's the reorg meeting time, but then we go out and see what's happening out there. So we can kind of begin planning that for May if that works for you guys.
Yeah, I'm down.
Didn't we use something last year other than a school bus?
Well, we requested a smaller,
That was much better last year.
yeah, it was a 19 capacity vehicle or something like that. We will do that again. That did work
Good.
much better, yeah. Oh, right, our annual maintenance program, chip seal, et cetera. Dwayne will have that ready to go. Right, Dwayne? Yes, he will.
This is why this is why we keep our mouths quiet.
Yeah, you brought it up, right?
Doesn't mean he wants to talk about it.
Because, you know, we really don't have a lot going this year, so we want to really catch up on the maintenance. No, I'm just kidding. Please understand, I'm just kidding.
And as usual, anything else that we email in, we can talk about too, but with that, meeting adjourned.